Welcome back to the Rollup TV, baby. It's Wednesday, September 24th. I'm Andy, your host. Robbie will be joining us shortly. He is just wrapping up some stuff in Korea. Believe he is literally in a taxi getting home as we speak, because we've got Jesse from Base up next. Stoked on that. Our first guest of the day. We are going to be revealing our mini app. It'll be very exciting. If you guys can't tell, I am live on my Twitter account today for the first time in a while. Shout out to our Twitter gurus behind the scenes. I don't know if the feed's actually pulling, but it's a good experiment going on. I see that I am live, but I don't see the actual video quite yet. We are trying new stuff here today. See how this rolls. Yeah. So guys, welcome back to Rollup TV. Stoked to be here and to be with you guys today. Leo, I'm just gonna end up killing my broadcast, and we'll figure out tomorrow why it wasn't picking up the actual feed. So I'm gonna kill that. You can kill yours, and I'll stick to the main program. Yeah, guys, we got Jesse from Base today going live, talking about all things Base app. Control the stream. We have officially partnered with Base and 𝘗𝘯 yesterday. So we'll be bringing in 𝘗𝘯's prediction markets into the Base app at some point. We're bringing 𝘗𝘯's prediction markets into the stream on Rollup TV imminently, and we will have the ability to make this work for everybody. So yeah, I'm stoked. It should be fun. Let's get fired up. Let's get Jesse in the house, and we'll get Robbie in as well. I believe Robbie is nearly ready to go. Really big day. The market's bouncing back a bit. Looks a little slow. We'll see what happens. I'm feeling good about it though. I think that was a good flush, and we'll see where we go from here. Institutional appeal in crypto is absolutely firing right now. Tether's looking to raise at a $500 billion valuation. So overall, just a really, really, really good time to be in crypto. Like I said, Rob's coming on. He'll be around. He's going to be on this Jesse segment. I'm going to give him another minute or two. Get in here, get going. And yeah, guys, shout out to us for the, 𝘗𝘯, big deal. Base announcement as well. Alrighty, guys, let's get Jesse up here. We're gonna get Rob up with him, and let's get firing. Welcome back to Rollup TV. Welcome to Control the Stream. We're gonna show you guys all about it right now. Let's get Jesse up with Robbie, and let's get him going. Here we go. Jesse Pollock, welcome to the Rollup TV, man. Big day for us. Good to have you on.
Glad to be here. Thanks for having me, guys.
We're unveiling Control the Stream today. Robbie, you are our stream controller of the day, as if you were calling in as a fan, an audience member. We've been building behind the scenes. Look at that. Tips coming in.
The tips are rolling in.
Robbie, give us the backstory, man. You went to base camp. You've been working with Brad and the team. How'd this come about? And then Jesse and the three of us can go back and forth and unveil some of these features.
Yeah, happy to. Well, it started long before base camp without Jesse's knowledge. Someone on our team named Zach, who's been helping us for a little while, introduced us to Brad, who is, I believe he's maybe, I don't even know what his exact title is, but he's in charge of the streaming economy on Base. That is what I know for sure. And he does a really great job of curating creators. He has a history at TikTok. So he reached out to us. He was like, hey guys, you guys are really good at what you do. You like to stream. This is recently after we had started the Rollup TV. How can we work together? And we basically explained our vision to close the gap between fans and creators, to really build a platform in which fans and creators were able to connect. And we as creators were able to see what our fans wanted to see, and have them closer to us and really get that two-way interaction. So we started ideating. We kind of rough scoped out what these features could look like. And he was like, hey, this makes a ton of sense. We would support this in the form of a builder grant. So we got a builder grant, and we actually just used all of that to spend on resources and engineering and developers to ultimately build out Control the Stream. The guys at 𝘠𝘪𝘵 helped build this out on a technical front. And so that's what you guys see today. Then after we had some MVP, I went to base camp, absolutely tremendous conference, by the way, Jesse. I mean, I don't know, there's probably a whole event production team at Coinbase, but it was just one of the most thoughtful and well curated events that I had been to. When there was panels, everyone was at the panels. When there was other things to do, everyone was doing other things. It was just a beautiful place. It was Vermont. There was really not much else going on. Everyone was just 100% focused on the conference. And so we demoed this mini app at the workshop at Basecamp, and everyone loved it. And it was essentially all anyone would ever need to go live and run a stream on Base in a very on-chain forward way. So it got me fired up. We're just getting started. We just have a few plugins now. And so that's kind of what we're here to talk to you about. Talk to you about the streaming economy, talk to you about Base, and show you why we're so fired up.
I love it. And I'm fired up too. And I'm glad you had an awesome time at Basecamp. That was my experience as well. And, you know, when you guys came to us and said, hey, here we want to do some streaming stuff, you know, we think streaming is going to be a huge part of the on-chain economy. And we're kind of in the, like, let's go make it happen across a bunch of different places. And, you know, y'all have been building a brand and a stream, and I know better people to figure that kind of stuff out than people who are doing it every single day. And so I'm super fired up about this. I'm seeing some tips are rolling in and excited to, you know, see how you guys roll this out with your community and how people do more stuff on chain with streaming.
Yeah. And so as you may know, we go live pretty much every day, Monday through Friday. We're live for a few hours. And so don't mind me if I'm on my phone, because I'm actually using the remote control that all of our fans can use. And that's the whole concept here, is that we have the TV show. You're on the TV show. Welcome to the Rollup TV. And everyone at home has their remote control, and they can literally control what happens on the stream. And Jesse, our imagination is the limit here. I am so fired. Like, I'm excited to get creative with these plugins, because I can imagine people doing absolutely ridiculous things and having a lot of fun doing it. For instance, like auctioning off the ability to come on the stream, the ability to ask questions, play music, put tweets up on the screen, like do all kinds of things as they're using the remote control, make clips, make cuts, make memes and GIFs, launch tokens as a result of what they see on the stream. All of that is within the realm of possibilities here. And so one of the ones that we're most excited about is actually, and by the way, after Jesse's stream, we're gonna go to 𝘗𝘠𝘕, who was from Builders Garden. He helped build all this out, and it'll really be live. We'll be live. Everyone can use it right now.
Yeah.
And so
let's see it, Rob. Let's see the let's see
tips rolling
your
in.
favorite one.
Oh, my favorite one. All right. And I'm curious to hear Jesse's thoughts about this. So we've got what we call the bull bear meter, also known kind of a sentiment meter. And so what we've got here is the ability to pop up a prompt on the screen. For instance, will the Base app go, let's go big or go home. Will the Base app be a top 10 app in the App Store by end of year?
Ooh, that's good.
Really big, Jesse.
All right, we'll put it up for
I'm ready.
All right, we confirm in the Base app. Do a little Touch ID, super easy flow. There's maybe a little 1-2 second delay.
Yep.
And then we'll see it.
Boom.
And so you'll see it on the stream. Will Base app be top 10 in the App Store by the end of the year?
Yeah.
This isn't just showing up.
Bull post.
Bull sentiment meter spam. Yeah.
So
we got work to do. To be fair, we got work to do, but I'm always an optimist.
So we got a QR code here, Rob, where you could scan in and vote directly on the Base app from your Base app account. And the goal here is to encourage as many people as possible to come use the Base app when interacting with the show. We want to drive people to the Base app, download the Base app, use the Base app, get rewarded by using the Base app. We actually just announced 𝘗𝘯𝘕 yesterday, which is going to be our official prediction markets partner. Imagine a world where we integrate 𝘗𝘯𝘕. They're still kind of off chain, but we can bring some of their market on chain, do it on the Base app. You see tips rolling in. Jesse's fired up. So this is the MVP.
I love it.
Jesse.
It's an awesome MVP. And I think the thing that this really shows is just like the power of when you bring together live streaming with this programmable platform that we're building on Base. It's like you literally can make it so that the people who are watching the stream can participate in the stream, and not only can they participate in like simple ways like a vote, which I think is cool, but then they're also gonna be able to participate in like more complex ways, like, you know, building a complex money system, basically, of like, you know, stake some money on your vote. That's like, you know, one tap away. Or you know, like place a live prediction. That's one tap away. Like the money platform that we built on Base is like purpose built for this kind of interactive, engaging experience that y'all are kind of designing here.
Yeah. Jesse, so we have this broad kind of view here that the real-time nature of streaming with the kind of compressed attention spans, as well as the desire for short-term or for short-form content, as well as feeling closer to your, you know, host or to your person of choice that you want to listen to is very important. How do you view on-chain allowing us as creators to get closer to our fans, to our audience? I know we've shown this, but maybe more broadly, holistically, what is your thesis on-chain being this gap or the bridge between the fans and the creators?
Yeah, you know, I think we've said from the beginning that we think on-chain is going to be kind of the next generation of the creator economy. And there's two big reasons for it. One is that, you know, on the monetization side, when you look at the creator economy today, the thing that makes the internet work is creativity. It's from all of us. But when it actually comes to the money that is made from that creativity, 95% of it is going to these big platforms. And so creators are basically getting cut out. And on-chain creators can earn, like it flips. You basically have 95% of the value going directly to creators, which is a whole new kind of like experience. The other thing that we think is really radically different is in the Web 2 world, like you're in someone else's walled garden. They control your graph. They control who you can talk to. They control what connection you have to your fans. Versus on-chain, because it's this open platform, because you own your content, you can have that direct relationship. So if you want to design a new way of engaging with fans, exactly like you guys have done, that's not something where it's like, oh God, like we need to go get some big centralized platform on board. It's like, no, we can literally build it. Or there's gonna be other people who build it for us and then we can plug it in. And I think that ability to just like own your own relationship is going to be something that so many creators like have a aha moment on, where they're like, wow, this is 10 times better. You're telling me that I earn 10 times more and I can be 10 times more connected, and all of that can enable me to build 10 times better experiences for my fans. Of course I'm going to stream on chain. Of course I'm going to post on chain. And so I think it's very early days, and it's people like y'all who are kind of here at the early days, pioneering, trying to figure out how do we kind of like put all these pieces together in a way that clicks. But once it clicks, and I think we're close, we're going to be off to the races because it is that much better.
Yeah, we like to think of ourselves as one of the most innovative media companies in crypto, the fastest growing media company in crypto. And this technology and this platform is part of how we showcase that. This is something I said at the demo in Basecamp. Twitch does not have this. Kick does not have this. Rumble does not have this. This is all on Base. And this is all because Base is a platform in which you can build things. It's meant for developers and to build apps that are currently not possible anywhere else.
Yeah, and I think the kind of crazy thing about it is that you guys like built this, you know, not quite nights and weekends, but like, you know, it's like a side project that you guys have done over the last few months to like bring about a vision that you had. And that like the fact that the bar, like the ability for y'all to do that is like such a statement about what's possible right now. It's like you have an idea and then you can bring it to life. And it's not something where it's like you need to go raise millions of dollars and you need to go like invent a whole totally new technology platform. It's like, no, like literally you can dream it and then you can make it happen. And you can do that like nights and weekends. You can do it as an experiment for the stream. Like you can just make that happen. It's awesome.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Jesse, I'm curious about your perspective of the actual mini apps within the Base app, right? So Rollup TV Control Stream is now a prominent mini app. It's featured on the Base app. Obviously, these feature sets are exclusively available on the Base app.
Yep.
What is the vision for supporting creators and supporting up-and-coming businesses who want to build on-chain, who want to build on Base, you know, featuring them on the app as mini apps? Is there a broader, bigger picture vision that you have for the mini apps? Jesse coined to 𝗏𝗏𝗧𝗏𝗏.
We're just having fun now.
My creator coin's coming. I'll just tell everyone. Like,
wow,
I'm working on it. I'm working on it. You know, I want to make sure I do it right, but I believe every creator is going to have a coin. And I'm not afraid to go out there and make it happen for myself. And of course, you know, a little slower, but we're gonna do it. And you know, I don't know if we'll go to a trillion, but I'm excited to just continue kind of like breaking down barriers for people and normalizing the fact that it's okay for creators to earn in the new economy. That's like not just okay, that's great.
I'm bullish, and the denominator is going to zero, so who knows? The numerator could go to a trillion. and so Jesse, one of like a very, you know, on a more serious note, one of the things that I went to Basecamp thinking is like about this creator coin economy. Andy and myself, we're creators. You're a creator. Like
we've been just bouncing ideas like how to do this right. Is there a reality? We don't want to ruin our reputation. We don't want to come off as short-sighted. We've been doing this for 5 years. Like, how do we properly do this thing?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, my take on this is that where we're heading is creator capital markets, where creators will have coins, where content will be valued in the free market with coins as well. I think we're in this kind of transitionary period right now where two things are true. One is that there's still a lot of stigma on this, and think back to where we were like 6 months ago when we first started talking about creator coins, and people were telling me like, what are you talking about, creator coins? Everything is a meme coin. And I got so much shit for saying, no, like actually you guys, like they're different things. And so I think like that transitionary period of people realizing, oh, wow, coins are this powerful tool that can be applied to these different segments from a tokenization perspective. And creators are going to be a massive segment because creators are one of the lifebloods of our global economy. I think that's the first shift that's happening right now. And I think the second shift that's happening right now is people are realizing that if you just have like a creator coin that doesn't actually do anything, like that's not a recipe for success either. Like you can't just like yeet out the creator coin and then be like, okay, now that's just going to work. No, like it actually has to be integrated into the journey and life cycle of the creator. And this is why I'm so excited about, this experiment that you guys are running here. I'm so excited about the stuff that 𝘬𝘓 is doing, where they're actually figuring out how do you integrate the creator coin into the way creators work. So, here it's like you guys are going to be able to use the coin to token gate participation on the stream. Are you going to be able to use it for staking, for prediction markets? You're going to be able to use it for voting. You're going to be able to use it for tipping. Like that's a ton of sources of demand for the creator coin. What 𝘬𝘓 has been saying is like, what's the biggest source of demand for the creator coin? It's actually your content. And so by pairing the creator coin to each content coin, every time someone buys a piece of content, consumes it, that's actually driving demand for your creator coin. And so where I expect this to go is like, you guys will do a stream. It'll have all of this interactivity around the creator coin that you can do in there. Then that stream will end. It will get coined as an asset. And then people will clip all of that stream. That will all get paired back to their creator coin. And everything will drive value back to their creator coin. And so I think this to me is kind of like the next frontier. Is like we've basically normalized this idea in certain segments, but there's still a ton of stigma. We have to push through that. And then in order to push through that, we need to bring more and more of this like real utility and real value accrual mechanisms to the creator coins, such that creators can do what they love, create, and then they can have that value that they're creating accrue back to their underlying coin.
I love it. I mean, that answers a lot of the kind of questions and just kind of hesitancy that I've had. It's just been like, okay, there's a right way to do this and there's a wrong way to do this. And I think you're kind of depicting the evolution of creator coins, and it feels like we're getting ready to take that next step where, I think I've seen some podcasts do like, some buybacks with ad revenues, for example, very kind of like baseline thing. But if there's a way that this could be integrated into the stream, into base app, into the interactions, then it becomes almost like a, in the future, I think there'll be a stable coin for Starbucks, and Walmart will have their own stable coin, but it'll all kind of come together. But this is just like the Rollup coin or the Rollup kind of form of currency if you're participating in our economy. So yeah, Jesse, any kind of further suggestions or thoughts as to how to properly think about building this flywheel, are very much appreciated.
Yeah, well, the first thing I'll say is that I think that like your intuitive feeling that you want to do this in the right way is the correct intuition, right? Like people coming and like saying, hey, I'm just going to like yeet this out and like not really think about it, and I'm just going to make money as a result of it. Like that's not going to lead to a good outcome. And I think that we've seen a little bit, honestly, of that over the last few weeks where it's like, people have gotten burned a little bit and they feel like, oh, this actually isn't working for me because there has been this like almost extrinsic motivator of like the North Star is to make money rather than the North Star to figure out like, how do I use this technology to do the thing that I love better, which over time will make me money. And I think that that's the first thing is like what I'm seeing is that the people who are thinking best about this are the people who are intrinsically motivated and who are saying, I love streaming or I love posting, I love creating, and I want to figure out how do I use this new technology to do that better and to make it so that I can do that thing even more. And over time, that's going to lead to a good outcome for me. And so I think that that mindset of like doing it right, being here for the long term, being intrinsically motivated is super, super core to what's going to make this successful. And I love that you guys are thinking that way. And I'll just say, like, any creators out there who also think that way, come talk to me. Like, I want to help you do this the right way. That's literally my whole thing. It's what we've said on about Base from the beginning. It's the ethos that Coinbase has brought from the beginning is like, we're going to do it the right way. And maybe it'll take a little bit longer and maybe we'll miss out on the like short-term attention spike fads, but in the long run, it's going to lead to better outcomes. So that's the first thing. The second thing that I'll say is that it is going to be emergent, right? Like we are going to figure this out like in real time a little bit. And so, you know, I think the flip side of doing it the right way is you could interpret that in a way where it's like doing it the right way means we need to like maximally figure everything out up front. And like, I think that's where you end up getting into like, oh, like in order for the creator coin to work, you need to like have the revenue streams go back to the creator coin. And like, we need all of this like off-chain complexity to make that happen. And my intuition is that these value accrual mechanisms will be a little bit more emergent than that. Like people will launch creator coins and maybe they'll have 1 or 2 value accrual mechanisms. And then over time, more will be layered in. Right. So you'll have clipping and those will get paired. You'll have the live streaming use cases. Those will work. You'll have, you know, ad revenue that starts to like funnel back. And that kind of like mechanism is going to kind of gradually emerge over time. And I don't think that that's necessarily an environment for every creator to kind of like get started. But I do think that for creators who are independent, who are excited about being at the frontier, being a little bit comfortable with that emergent reality and saying, hey, like, I know that I'm doing this right because that is my intention, but that doesn't mean I have to have it all figured out. I think that that's going to be the sweet spot where you're going to see a lot of people who bring those two things together and basically like pave the way for everyone else. And that's been my ethos personally of like, I'm a creator, like I'm a builder, but like, I'm also a creator. Like you guys see me on Twitter, you see me on Instagram, TikTok, and Zora. Like I'm trying my best out here to create. And I feel like I have a duty to like live a little bit in this gray space because I feel like me figuring out in real time is going to help the rest of the industry figuring out in real time. And I think that like folks like y'all and many others also, you know, can play a really important role in kind of like helping us work through this emergent reality to get to kind of like better and better tools for creators to make these things a part of their livelihood. And so again, I'll just say like super grateful for all of the work that you guys are doing, pushing the boundaries, and for other creators who want to be pushing the boundaries too, but want to be pushing boundaries with creativity in a based way that feels right and authentic to them, that has a long-term perspective. Like I'm here to help you. And we want to make it so that there's a safe space for you to do that experimentation. And that safe space is going to happen on Base.
Yeah, it will. And Jesse, just before you go, I just want to really emphasize one of the things you said is that you feel like you have this duty, you're compelled to figure it out so that others can also learn from your figuring it out process. This is a core tenet of what we do here at the Rollup. Our core virtue is this curiosity that drives us. We're genuinely curious when we're talking to people. We're trying to learn ourselves because we have a thirst for knowledge. We want to go out. We want to learn things. We also want people to come back and learn from us. And therefore, it does create this symbiotic flywheel that ends up accruing value for everyone. And it creates this abundance mindset. And so all that to say, thank you for creating Base. Thank you for coming on the show and helping us figure out this process, figuring out your own process, and teaching us to teach others. It's really what this is all about.
Yeah, well, thank you guys. Excited to do it, and it's still day one. We got a lot of work to do. We definitely haven't figured it all out, but I think if we all show up with this attitude of like, we're gonna do things the right way, we're gonna take risks, but in the direction of learning, we're gonna be able to get a lot of good done in the world.
Yeah. See you on the timeline, man.
Yeah,
peace out, Jesse.
Too. Thanks for having me.
I'll be back next time. Thanks, Jesse.
Wow. Creator
absolutely insane.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that was nuts.
Wow.
I mean, he literally said he was going to launch a creator coin. It's just a matter. It's not if, it's when. It's just a matter of time.
Wow. Dude, I wish I could get the I wish we had 10 more minutes just to talk to him about that.
Yeah, for real. I think we've got
That's crazy.
Our head chef.
That's crazy. Hold on.
Jesse's the head chef of the base app. 𝗏𝗏𝘠𝗧 is the head chef of the mini app. So we're gonna get into it.
Wow, that is crazy.
Yeah. There was tons more that he said, and there's a lot to unpack there. But generally, like, huge takeaway is that Base is going all in. Coinbase is going all in on Base. Base is going all in on streaming. And if you couple this with what we heard from the Syndicate founder last week or maybe earlier this week, the listing process on Coinbase is becoming decentralized to Aerodrome. And so what you can see here is that all of the creator coins that Base is working so hard to support and launch, all of these end up getting listed on Coinbase, like the Coinbase. And they've basically taken this business model that has worked for them for so long in listings, and they've said, you know what? We actually believe in the on-chain economy and the on-chain ecosystem for several verticals. We're going to put aside our listing business, and we're just going to launch all of these coins as if they were listed, and they don't have to spend anything. And they get the distribution and liquidity of like 160 million users, billions of dollars in trading volume. Crazy.
It's insane. So good. Yeah, we got 𝗏𝗏𝘠𝘠𝘧 up next. What a 24-hour period here for the boys.
Yeah, 𝗏𝗏𝘠𝘠𝘧 is just a stud, honestly. 𝗏𝗏𝘠𝘠𝘧's a man. 𝗏𝗏𝘠𝘠𝘠 helped to put this together. We're going to get him up. He's behind the scenes now. We're going to get him up in just a moment. Yeah. I'm stoked.
Dude, I can't believe.
Because 𝗏𝗏𝘠𝘠𝘠𝘠 can explain this app in a way that I think is going to make sense to a lot of people. Obviously, we're coming at it from the creator perspective, but 𝗏𝗏𝘠𝘠𝘠 is going to be able to share things about the process of building this out and seeing it from a builder's perspective, as well as a viewer's perspective, and just generally from a few different angles. I shared the floor with him for our demo at Basecamp. Yeah, went extremely well. I think we make a great team. So let's bring 𝗏𝗏𝘠𝘠𝘠𝘠 up and we can discuss this.
Yeah, sounds great, man. I have not really met 𝗏𝗏𝘠𝘠𝘠𝘠 other than being on the calls here and there. So stoked to chat with him. And yeah, I mean, what a big outcome from Jesse that I still just am like, wow, he officially came on the show and said that he's going to launch his own creator token. That is insane. So yeah, we're going to get 𝗏𝗏𝘠𝘠𝘠𝘠 up, get him fired up, get him going. And here he is, guys. 𝗏𝗏𝘠𝗏𝘠𝘠𝑒𝑡ℎ on building the next wave of mini apps with the bucket hat in the house, baby. What's going on?
Hello, guys. Hello. How's it going?
Welcome. We made it.
Yeah, finally.
Long way from Basecamp.
Oh yeah.
I gotta give you a tip, man. I gotta get the tips rolling here. I'm just firing on the base app already, 𝗏𝗏𝘠𝘠𝘠𝘠.
Should I tip myself as well? Does that count?
Yeah. You know what? Now that we're here, and I would love to hear all about kind of how you came here, what the story and your vision, and obviously we've been very grateful for your help in building this out. But if I had one feature request, and maybe I'm missing it up, is that when I tip you, I want to be able to write a message that obviously is NSFW protected, but I'd like to have a message available to send so I can say how great of a developer and partner you've been, 𝗏𝗏𝘠𝘠𝘠𝘠.
That's a great one, actually, and I'm here for this. I mean, I love working with you and Robbie and team, because you guys guided us on this. We built it, but thanks to your guidance and feedbacks and ideas, like this one that you just shared, seems like really simple and even dumb, but we didn't think of it in the past few weeks because we were in a rush. But I think it's a perfect use case, and it's not even a heavy lift, so I'm sure soon.
Yep. Yeah, I'm excited because there's so much room for creativity. I think this is where we can really use our imagination to think about what other things are out there. 𝗏🗧, before we get into all that, and I would really like to use most of our time on that, but it's your first time on the show, so I'd love to hear like where you came from, like what's the 𝗏𝗧 story? How did you end up here working with us and on the Rollup TV?
So let's start from where I was born. Maybe like too many years ago, but but I was born in Rome. I live in Rome, and it's 3 years ago that I co-founded the local Web3 community that now is scaling all over Italy. We organize Eat Rome. We do a lot of events and education and information around what the blockchain technology can bring in terms of innovation. And so that's how I started my journey. Before that, of course, I was already a software engineer. My background is in tech and computer science, and was at the same time I co-founded the community that I started working in a space with a US-based startup, funny enough. And that's where my Web3 journey started. And then 2 years ago, I co-founded Builders Garden as well, with some people that I met in the community. So we are a team of 7 now, all Italians, some in Rome, some near Venice. And I guess how I ended up with building mini apps full time. It all started with Farcaster. So the first company I was working for, we were like building in a similar space, focusing more on professional connection rather than just social ones. And so we were studying Farcaster very closely. It was in the beginning, but we were inspired by the protocol and product in the end. And so that's how I first got into Farcaster. Last year, I started building very actively on it because they released the first version of mini apps, which were called frames. And so that was for the first time we were able to build these small applications that people could use inside a social feed. So spending money, executing transactions, fun stuff. When mini app came at the end of last year, of course, we were super excited to build with this new primitive, which has you can be like much more creative with mini apps today than it was 1 year ago. And so that's how we started building. Maybe not the easiest thing to build, but when you see a social network and you see mini apps and people playing on or doing things with each other because they are in a social context, you can think of Zynga and Farmville. That's the first thing I thought of, and that's how we started building Farmville inside Farcaster. So you can think of it as a Farmville remix in a crypto context inside this purple social network, and it blew up. So in this simple game, people need to plant carrots, harvest them, earn experience points, complete quests, and it has been one of the most popular game on the social network so far.
It's amazing.
And so from there on, we learned a lot. We learned a lot of stuff, and I guess that's also how we ended up collaborating, because we started building many of them, not only for our own ideas, but we also started working with external clients or other founders that had some ideas to build.
Yeah, man. I mean, look, when we started to talk, I mean, it's been a process of like, all right, we should find a developer. All right, 𝗏𝗧 and his crew are some of the best in the business. I mean, from that point on, it was like a matter of weeks before we got to where we are now. And also, it didn't cost that much money. It's been a reasonable effort across the board. Base is happy to incubate a lot of this, and obviously, if we want to scale this thing, well, we're gonna have to scale it. But we've just been thoroughly impressed by your work, and also very excited to roll out the Base app, kind of feature set that we want to see. I'm curious. It feels like now we are operating on a product business side of things. Like, we were previously running a media company. Now we're kind of like, almost feels like we're iterating on a product side where we have this like software development, testing, rollout, announcement, etc. So, I'm curious from your side, kind of how you're thinking about mini apps as a holistic journey, right? So like, what is the fastest path to get to like 10K daily active users? how do you kind of think about launching the ideas, building them, getting users going, like there's a whole different set of suite of teams that are required to make this happen. But I'm curious how you think about scaling the base app and kind of the life cycle of the mini apps as a whole, perhaps as it pertains to like either Rollup TV or something else.
Yeah, I think that the main reason why we've been able to ship these in 2 weeks, because that's how long it actually took to have the current mini app live. It's first of all, like the concept of a mini app. So something lightweight, quick, that you can easily ship and find users straight away. And then AI, of course. All day long, of course, we are using Cursor or vibe coding tools to speed up development. So that's another important thing to mention. And I guess that both of these things allow companies like yours that are not really focused on development of new products closer to the product life cycle, because it's becoming like so fast to ship this new experiment that you can really be closer to it, and that actually speeds up the development. Because I'm sure that if we were starting let's say internally with Builder's Garden, building this idea without your feedback or the thing that you like to use and see in this mini app, it would have been much maybe longer as an effort. But thanks to this collaboration, we've been able to scope out what we really need to have. And I guess like the path to bring these mini apps to as many users as possible. You mentioned like 10,000 daily active users. If you reach that, it's a very big number. So I'm not sure yet around the daily active users on base. I'm sure it's in 50,000, maybe 100,000. I don't have the exact numbers, but that's the size of the network, and it's comparable to Forecaster. So if you reach 10,000, you might have like 10% of the users of the social network. So it's incredible. With 𝘭𝑪ville, we at some point had a peak of 5,000 daily active users, and that was huge deal. I think to get there, the real trick is making the mini app as social and multiplayer as possible. So one thing that worked very well with 𝘭𝑪ville, that of course we are reapplying on all the other mini apps we're building, is around having people sharing moments that they live within the mini app. So on 𝘭𝑪ville, for example, to complete some quests, they needed to request some items or seeds to their friends on the network, and to do so, they needed to post something on the feed. What happened? There were like thousands of these requests happening on the on the feed, and so many people got to know 𝘭𝑪ville because of them. And that, of course, it's something that we want to bring in this mini app as well. So making sure that people, maybe when they tip, when they vote on something, if we end up building something around clipping, making sure that they can make it happen in the mini app and then share it on the feed so that all their friends can see what they did. That's in my experience, in our experience, what works well inside these new ecosystems where you can build mini apps, but you're also inside a social context. So that's something that we really care about.
Yeah. And one of the things that I've heard from people that they also care about is joining this network that they see with the products, the functionality, and the content that we have as a combination between Builder's Garden and the Rollup. We have we've done this show, and we get inbound from creators, especially after Basecamp. I think there was 2 or 3. I was just at an event in Korea. Someone else came and they said, hey, like, we're doing this crypto dating show. I showed people your functionality on your mini app, and they were blown away by the concept of betting on who they think is going to get a second date. And so it was really, really, really intuitive for them to integrate a lot of the same functionality that we're talking about into a similar content format and a similar demographic. And so there's multiple different integration opportunities here, whether it's just the product, whether it's the content and the product. There's so many things that we can think about. And I think, one thing that is really important, I think, just for any creators that are looking at this, for them to understand is that this is composable with the existing stack. Like, we have OBS that's running on the side. We've got a technical production team that's cooking that in real time. All of this was just layered on top. And so they don't change any of the, like, we didn't change any of the underlying infrastructure. All of this was composable and built on top of what we already have built. So, man, 𝗏𝗏𝘠𝗧, I mean, it's just been a pleasure working with you, man.
Yeah, like, I mean, what's next? What's on the roadmap, 𝗏𝗏𝘠𝗧? What are we cooking for the next month or two? I don't know if like I said, guys, my product roadmap on this has been robbed, so I'm not really sure what's going on. But whatever we're about to cook, we should establish a roadmap now without giving away too much alpha, and let's put our heads together here, boys. What does the end of the year sprint look like here to get this base app rolling?
So yeah, I mean, the first thing we are already working on, besides some polishing and general fixes, is around making this accessible to every streamer on Earth. So right now we build this to work specifically for you, the Rollup live stream. What will happen soon in the next couple of weeks is that every streamer maybe can create their profile and have their own unique link that they can share on the base app to have their audience joining the live stream and interact with all the plugins we built. That's the first step. The second one, once we have this new platform coming out for all the streamers, we want to expand the functionalities and plugins that the streamers can set up for their audience to use. And that, I guess, it's up to you guys, like guiding me and telling me what would be cool to have. I'm thinking about a raffle plugin, for example, so running raffles, or Robbie, you already mentioned some kind of prediction markets during the live stream. So I can confidently say that before the end of the year, we will have at least 2 new plugins that people will be able to use, and so most importantly, that streamers can use during their live streams.
Yeah, we're just getting started. I think prediction markets is super cool, super interesting. We're already getting people that they're looking at it and they say they also want to run this kind of functionality, which makes complete sense. So we're going to figure out what kind of integration it makes the most sense there. I love the idea of a raffle too. I think, what that does is it allows people to get in at a low entry point. Maybe they put in a cent or $1 or something like that. And we can basically combine all that. So it's a low barrier to entry, but if you win, you end up winning this high, great prize. So I think plenty of opportunities to explore. And really, this is only bounded by our creativity and our imagination. And so it's theoretically infinite. And I think there's also, look, we don't have a creator coin. Jesse was on the show right before you, 𝗏𝗏𝘠𝗧, and he was talking about like his creator coin. Like, he's really going to launch a creator coin. He basically announced it on our show. But he wants to do it the right way. He wants it to be sustainable and for there to be some fundamental correlation and association between his performance as a creator and the performance of the token. So I think the more and more people start to think about the connections between their tokens and who they are and what kind of creations they make and what they create, this is going to like cause some really, really interesting paths to develop, whether it's points, whether we incentivize certain interactions, whether creators are starting to do things with their coins. Like, we have integrations, we can basically put it into the app. There's all kinds of things that we can do. It's really, really exciting. Maybe 𝗏𝗏𝘠𝗧, you could just tell us a little bit more about Builder's Garden. You kind of talked about Farmville. What are some of the projects, aside from Farmville, that you guys have experience building? And how do you think it prepared you for success to build Control the Stream?
Like even before Farmville, I think one of the reasons why we like mini apps so much is because before Builder's Garden, we've been hacking at Ethereum hackathons all around the world. I've been like to 20 plus hackathons, and that taught us, of course, around scoping down a project, delivering with tight deadlines, picking up new technologies very quickly, and that's all that happens when you build a new mini app. So it's not the usual, let's say, 3 months, 6 months projects. It's usually not 2 weeks sprint like we did. That was crazy. But it's usually around 1 month. Like we're talking about weeks when it comes to shipping a mini app. And so first of all our experience in these hackathons, it's been very helpful for us to go from idea to MVP that fast. Farmville, then, as you mentioned, that has been a very important piece, not only because it gave us visibility as a studio, as a group, but also because we've been scaling a product and game for the first time inside the mini app ecosystem, and all these learnings that I was mentioning, how to make it viral, how to use notifications, how to make it smooth, how to make it compatible with the other ecosystem that you can plug into. So that's been very important as well. And then I guess all these other mini apps we've been working on, moving from, let's say, fitness mini apps like 𝘬𝘳𝘮𝘳𝘴, that was about checking in daily your workout or healthy meal, to this summer we built a mini app for decentralized pictures, to watch their trailers. So if it's in the Decentralized Pictures is a movie company. They produce movies, and we built a mini app with vertical scrolling like TikTok, where you can see these movies, these trailers. You can remix them, so clipping inside a mini app, playing around with videos. And the cool thing is that all of them have been somehow different, and so that's how we've been learning about all these little Lego blocks that at any point in time can be useful when it comes to building a new mini app like yours, for example. So knowing about how to easily spin up transactions, or even like that simple smart contract we built for the voting and sentiment plugin. It's something that somehow we explored in the past in other projects, and that's been very useful for us to ship it in 2 weeks. Because and that's the beauty of building in Web3. Everything that you build can always be useful later down the line, because it's all open, it's all public and permissionless. So it's easy also to build on top of things. You don't need to start from scratch. That's all that we do on a daily basis. So when it comes to collaborating with clients, not only we help them shaping a new idea, making it becoming a fully packaged product, but we also work with more, let's say, infrastructure companies that have experimental SDK or toolkits, and they call us because they want to see new use cases or cool creative use cases coming up. And I was so pumped to work on this, because I feel like it's real. Live stream is something that everybody knows, and as you mentioned earlier, Robbie, the fact that you can still use your same stack while putting these, let's say, crypto rails layer on top, it's unique.
Yeah. Limone, I'm curious as well, what kind of like of the features that we could build, which is like the easiest, do you think, to implement, like on a, like, okay, so what do you think is the easiest to implement for the highest ROI when it comes to building something on like the next part of base stream? Because like what I'm realizing here is we're basically the pioneers for base into streaming. Like what we kind of want to agree upon is what the base streaming app is going to build. And so like I love that, and I'm sure there's going to be other creators who have great ideas. But I'm curious from your perspective, what are the easy lifts for implementation to put into the app? Like, for example, adding a note with the tip. I ought to think that is like a 1 hour Claude coding job, maybe, but maybe not. But like, is there other easy things that we can implement that could have like a little bit of an outsized impact, rather than having to like go lift, an elephant for an elephant return? Or is there any like, can we lift a monkey to get an elephant?
The easiest one that comes to mind is prediction markets, because like what we have right now with the sentiment plugin, so the voting plugin, it's already very close to be a prediction market. So and I think the impact will be potentially huge, because of how people are interacting with prediction markets today. So that would be the first, if I have to choose. would be the first plugin I will build. Then you mentioned creator coins earlier. I think that an integration with existing creator coins would be great, so that every streamer can showcase their creator coin and get support directly from the mini app. So that's another one that I think, when it comes to, like, all these plugins, somehow they are also helping, or let's say creating a new monetization channel for the creator. And so pushing also on this line, I think it's a high return of interest.
𝘠𝘠𝘦, one of the Andy, you want to continue that
I'm
thought?
just curious, just like quick second thought. If we had a creator coin, could we be doing the tips in the creator coin and stuff, and create our own little economy within our mini app?
Yeah, either you configure the tips to be coming only with the creator coin, or you configure the tip to be some sort of buyback on your creator coin, so that it instead of going directly to your wallet as USDC, as it's happening now, it can bring up the value of your coin. So which is
or like
another approach.
If a user has ETH or USDC or whatever it is in their wallet, it'd be great if they can just click tip, and then it goes, buys the creator coin, and then tips it, and then basically creates that method.
Yes,
because like no one's gonna have it in their wallet from the jump. I mean, hopefully they do, but
no, go ahead, 𝘠𝘠𝘦.
And funny enough, that's one of the things. So making these, let's say, cross-chain, cross-token transactions, so that you don't need to bother if somebody has USDC or another token on another chain. It's something that we built many times in different mini apps. Pretty easy to implement at this point for us. So this is part of the stack that we've been building internally somehow. And it's a great use case, actually.
Yeah, man. I think so too. And this is something that we talked about in person, right? And there's essentially this contract behind the scenes. Someone can tip with any currency, and then it goes and it buys the token behind the scenes. That's the one that ends up making the tip. All kinds of things that we can do. 𝘠𝘠𝘦, I want to take a couple minutes and talk about something that I think is high lift, granted, but also high reward. And it's one of the ones you mentioned. It's the clipping. Because Jesse was on the show and also talking about how they're rolling out streaming and then they're rolling out clipping. And he really is emphasizing this as a part of the creator economy on base. So when you're thinking about not just the creator economy, but more specifically the clipper economy, like within the broader creator economy, why do you think clipping is important? If so, why do you think so? And how do you think the plugin could incorporate a clipping, the mini app could incorporate a clipping plugin, so that we have a button and we have this flywheel of people that are creating these clips?
So to start, I think that clipping is important to bring in this experience and to bring on chain, because it's something that people have been doing already in traditional, let's say, Web2 live streams, so Twitch or other platforms. So it's a known and existing behavior, and that, of course, it's contributing a lot to give the streamer visibility. What could be different in this case? So not only by allowing clipping within the mini app, we can help you as a streamer getting more distribution. But since we're building on crypto rails, maybe there's a chance for you, the clipper, to earn something out of it. So if you come up with an interesting clip, a viral clip, maybe there's a way for you to capture that value. So the value behind the fact that you are the first one to clip that moment, share it, and contributed for the streamer to go viral. I think it's a super interesting use case, as well as I think that it's as you mentioned, high lift, in the sense that there are few moving parts, and in particular, like the clipping experience. We built it somehow already in a mini app, so it's not that we would be starting from scratch. But there's a lot of work to do, because you're not using a mobile native app, you are using a mini app inside another application, and so there are some UX constraints that you need to be aware of when it comes to designing the experience. But I think the potential is huge, because of distribution. All we care about is distribution, and then of course that will also bring monetization.
Yeah,
Yep.
I totally agree. I mean, this was my biggest question, and I know Base App isn't even really for the general public yet. I believe we do have some invite codes for those who are watching. I'm waiting on the Base team to get us from that, get that from us for you guys today. 𝗏𝗏𝘠, do we have any alpha as to when the Base App is going public?
No, I don't know. No clue at all.
Any guesses, any estimations?
Next year, I'm not expecting it for the end of this year.
Okay. Because when we asked Jesse if it would be top 10 in the App Store by the end of the year, he looked a little shocked.
In the sense that it's going to end.
That's what Robbie did. Robbie was like top 10 in the App Store by the end of the year. Jesse was like, whoa.
I went hard on the bull bear, the sentiment meter.
Yeah, I mean, dude, that is a good one too. So 𝗏𝗏𝘠, the prediction markets that you're talking about is like the sentiment meter basically, but then implementing the prediction markets underneath. We wanted to maybe bring in a 𝘗𝘁 plugin to the app. So what would be the process to integrate the 𝘗𝘁 plugin into the Base app, just for like just to view the predictions maybe on the screen on the Base app, and then be able to use the sentiment meter to track that? What does the 𝘗𝘁 Base app potential integration look like?
I mean, it's it's about understanding how 𝘗𝘁 works behind the scenes and integrating within those funny buttons that we have on the mini app. I think the overall like UI UX that we have won't change much. What changes is that it's instead our custom smart contract behind the scenes. There will be a 𝘗𝘁 smart contract handling the predictions and handling the payouts to, let's say, to the winners for that prediction. So it's something we were already discussing with Robbie, of course, and again, it's probably like the first one on my list of plugins to build. It's something that also people at the live demo at Basecamp, came up with an idea. So I think there's already demand.
They were very excited about it.
And not only that, what we could potentially do is also linking existing prediction markets. So not only creating some during the stream, but I see how during your live stream you might be talking about some stuff happening around the world, and you might want to point people to that prediction market. Maybe there's also a way for you as a streamer in this case to earn some referral fees on all the predictions happening.
Yeah, that was one thing about the trading integration right now that someone mentioned to me while I was playing golf at Basecamp, and it didn't even for some reason, it didn't occur to me right away. But, when someone buys higher Clanker base token or ETH, using the plugin on our mini app, like, why wouldn't we get some portion of those trading fees? And the same goes for the prediction markets. If we have a prediction market that, we import from 𝘗𝘁 and it appears on the Base mini app, why wouldn't we get some trading fees as a result of people generating volume inside of our app, because we've directed some order flow through that plugin? I think it makes complete sense. Yeah.
That's totally the case. Like, of course, like depends from protocol to protocol and to the integration that we end up building. But most of the protocols usually have space for they call it client fees, because the mini app in this case acts as a client towards the protocol, and that can holds for trading tokens, holds for predicting on a market, holds for any other plugin that we might come up with.
Yeah, obviously, tapping into some of the markets that are existing on 𝘗𝘁 and letting people trade, that's one thing. Allowing, maybe this is higher lift, but this is something that I think people are really excited about, is creating custom markets based on what is happening on the stream. So imagine like a button, and then it's like, make this a market, and you click that, and then you can type in the field, it'll create a market. Maybe it's hosted by 𝘗𝘁, so that anyone can go deposit liquidity on there from the Base app or from the 𝘗𝘁 UX. You just deposit your assets that you may have already sitting there, and then you start to trade, and it appears on 𝘗𝘁. It also appears on the Base app.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's like some new kind of advertisement as well. I think the Spindle team, actually the base team, had a workshop session around like on-chain advertising using the Spindle protocol. And it's a great use case because with respect to the past, where you were paying for an ad only to be showed on a page, in this case you will be paying for that ad only if it brings actual value. So you're already paying back the marketing cost, let's say. And so this is possible because on-chain, the on-chain economy is composable. And so all this stuff, all these protocols that people can access from multiple platforms and clients can also be accessible from the mini app. And because that's happening, you can capture some of that value.
Yeah, beautiful. 𝘠𝗏𝗏, the man behind the base streaming experience, the man who's taking all of our alpha and all of our sauce, building it, and then giving it to every creator for free. The man that we love, the man that we've come to know and build. I'm just messing with you, 𝘠𝗏𝗏. We appreciate your efforts, your time. We look forward to building together and just building out the base streaming architecture together. I mean, I think that we are very deep in the weeds here. We've got the technical team behind to test all these things. We will be going live consistently. So
𝘠𝗏𝗏, thank you.
Thank you.
𝘠𝗏𝗏, thank you so much for your help, and we wish you a gigantic base airdrop.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That developer
Crossing fingers.
is going to be huge. Huge.
And
right,
yeah,
speak to you soon.
Just a shout out also to my team. I mean, I'm not been building this alone. We're a team of 7 again, and without them, this would have been possible. So shout out to the team, 100%. And thank you guys for inviting me today.
Thank you,
Absolutely.
sir.
Thanks for coming on. We'll see you next time. Shout out to tight knit teams capable of anything.
Yes,
these days.
sir. AI, it's AI revolution. Peace out, 𝘠𝗏𝗏.
We'll see you, 𝘠𝗏𝗏.
Peace out.
Thanks, man.
Ciao.
Boom. What a session for the boys to start off the day. Rob, how was the party out there in Korea? We just threw a rage. There's actually a roll-up party going on right now in Gangnam District. Likely quite a bit of drunk people in there right now.
Yeah, there absolutely is.
Rob, what's the state of affairs in Seoul, Korea?
People were a little bit surprised when I told them that I was leaving our own event to go live stream.
They were probably like, what the hell are you doing?
I think 3 people in a row all said the exact same thing. Grind, don't stop. I'm still wearing the wristband.
Nice.
So
grind, don't stop. Yeah, I probably would not have left the party to go live stream, but it's not every day you get to talk to Wyatt from Vaneck VC. So I mean, come on.
Right.
What are you gonna do?
Come on, special guest.
Get drunk with a bunch of crypto bros in Korea who are hanging out, or you're gonna talk to somebody who knows what's going on? I mean,
we're gonna talk to somebody who knows what's going on. Let's get Wyatt up on stage.
Guys. We got Wyatt in the house.
Here he is
from New York City, calling in, looking fly. What's going on, man?
What's up, guys? How are you? Thanks for having me.
Good. Yeah, thanks for coming. You see the city in the background. How's the city in the summer?
Good. It's good. It's fall's coming too quickly, but I'll be heading out to Singapore this weekend. So excited to get over there. Although it looks like everyone's getting hit by giant typhoons. So
yeah, I saw that.
if we make it.
Yeah. I'll be there as well. I will see you there in Singapore. I'm in Seoul, Korea right now. Any particular reason you decided to skip on Korea and just go straight to Singapore?
I always found Singapore is like one of the highest quality and I think highest densities of just people in crypto. I think it's probably the most important conference just because it really brings East and West kind of together. But yeah, really more time. We have to divide and conquer. I can't go to every conference.
Yeah.
So, we generally have people from Vaneck at almost everything. I generally like to spend my time in Singapore and really just use that week. So.
Yeah, same. It's a fun one. I'm in Florida. Rob's in Korea. I'll be missing out. I'm holding down the fort down here. Headed back up to New York City soon. So looking forward to that. We got a lot to talk about, Wyatt. I mean, there's so many things from yesterday that have happened and today. First thing I got for you is Archetype raised 100 mil for their new fund 3 yesterday. I spoke to Dimitri in their office in maybe March, April. They were raising then. They got it done. which is great. I think that's one of the largest crypto raises of the year for venture, or of the last year. I think Maven had $100 million raise recently as well. So it sounds like there's still appetite for crypto venture funds, although word on the street would tell you otherwise. Kind of being in New York, what's the state of the appetite there? I know that you guys aren't raising now, but are you seeing that demand? Are you thinking about raising another fund after this one? Kind of what's the state of things there?
I definitely think there's demand, and congrats to the Archetype team. We like that crew a lot. Yeah, that's it. That's an exciting data point. I think you'll see a bunch more. There's actually a bunch of funds that are raising. We were previously, when Juan and I were at Circle, we're LPs in like about 15 funds, and Vaneck has also done some strategic balance sheet investments into a few funds. So generally have a good pulse on fundraising. I absolutely think so. I mean, I'll give you an example. We raised a $40 million fund we were raising last summer. I tell the story all the time, but like our pitch was kind of like, hey, we came from Circle. We've been investing in and working around stablecoins since 2018. And we really believe in this whole like fintech on crypto rails thesis. People thought that was niche last summer until Trump came in and basically the bridge Stripe deal got done. And all of a sudden it was like, yeah, you probably want to, these guys are investing in stablecoins and tokenized assets. Like now we're at Vaneck, who's from a product perspective doing a lot of that as well. Let's give them money. And so I think that to me always felt like it was where kind of the new capital was going to come in and around that intersection. And I think AI will be increasingly another vector. And you're already kind of seeing that in the private market. So for example, we have former portfolio companies like 𝘸𝘪𝘴 that are backed by Founders Fund and Sequoia. You have new things like 𝘸𝘪𝘴𝘬 that are coming to market that have raised from the Palmer Luckey company, and many other such examples. So like the traditional funds, traditional VC funds are coming into crypto. It's I think a much higher probability that they're going to be following on to funds like us and Archetype and others that are going to be finding this talent earlier. In which case it makes it more attractive for more traditional LPs to get involved. So I think that crypto venture, in my view, will increase significantly. However, I also just think the market dynamic around tokens, around how tokens are launched and capital is kind of formed around that, needs to change dramatically. I know you guys just had the Legion guys on.
Yep.
We co-led their last round with Brevin.
Congrats.
I think that's going to be, love that team. I think that's going to be increasing. That's going to be like a new paradigm shift of like, okay, now you can raise from investors, you can raise from the crowd, you can fair launch tokens. And so we can kind of pull the best of all these different worlds and examples that we've seen in crypto. And I think that will also bring in more and more capital, because we've had a bit of like, to borrow from the 𝘗𝘗 guys, like a lemon issue around tokens. And part of that is capital formation. Part of that is regulation.
Yep.
You're going to get the regulatory piece pretty soon. We've already gotten Genius and many other things. So it sets up a really strong environment for both entrepreneurs and investors. And I think increasingly you're seeing venture funds kind of have some quasi-liquid element to it.
Yep.
We kind of separate church and state here, but there's a future in which maybe we raise a fund and it's both together. So yeah, I think very bullish, and I think you'll have more venture funds announce larger raises this year or next year.
Yeah, I saw Legion partnered with Kraken to launch this yield basis raise, which is the Curve founders' new DeFi product. So that's a really good first start for them with Kraken. Congrats on that. Fab's a really good friend. We surf in Bali and hang out there a ton, so it's good stuff out there. And I took one of your claims from our previous episode. It was several months ago, with regards to the types of new founders coming in. I've tried to ask every VC if they agree. Basically, I think, to kind of put it in my own words, your claim was like there's this new cohort of founders coming in that are just far more talented or far more experienced in payments, fintech, these types of sectors than the crypto native founders that we've seen previously, and that this cohort is looking really good for venture and could likely, far outperform, let's call it like the 21 to 23 cohort. I assume you still hold strong on that thesis then?
Yeah, for what it's worth, I wouldn't say that like crypto native founders are weaker. I just think what we're starting to see is an influx of new talent, which is a really bullish signal. So yeah, like seeing, founders from Stripe and OpenAI and Visa and, TradFi firms come in and really study the best practices of crypto and start to launch crypto native products. And we're seeing this in a different form factor as well with the likes of Tempo from Stripe and Arc from Circle, right? Like they're validating the technology stack that all of us have been investing in and participating in this entire economy for years. So that's really exciting because it basically says like, listen, blockchain stablecoins are beginning to enshrine themselves as like the new foundational stack, the new financial primitive, and that's super exciting. So yeah, like I think I'm not saying that TAM for crypto overall in terms of like DeFi, et cetera, like it's not that it's bad. I just think that it's going to grow significantly when you find people who can cross the chasm, right? Everybody wants to sell products to institutions. No one's really done it yet. Everybody wants to create a global payment system. No one's really done it yet using stablecoins, right? Like the majority of the flows, which are incredibly impressive, are used predominantly for buying digital assets. So we should comp the current flows mainly to like DTCC, of which we're around 1% of the volume. If you do that on the Visa side as well, you kind of get closer to similar numbers. So, we've got 99% to catch up on. It's going to take lots of money, lots of really good talent. So this is all positive. I think the perfect world is when you find a team that can do it, that can do both.
Yeah,
they can really understand the crypto native side, but can go sell that vision to, Wall Street institutions, small, medium-sized businesses. And so there's a lot of different form factors here, like vault infrastructure, the actual enabling of securities on chain, being able to create compliance and policy layers around that. Because once you put an asset on a blockchain, like a stock, one, you want them to actually have ownership and the underlying benefits of that, dividends, voting rights, et cetera. But when you put it on a blockchain, you create portability of that asset. So now I can go take it anywhere, right? It's mine. And I can go put that thing into DeFi. It creates literally some of the most complex compliance problems you've ever seen. And obviously, like that's a huge surface area that we're looking at to try to solve through our portfolio. So yeah, like seeing the people that can go solve that stuff, you kind of have to know what the issues are today, as well as how they could potentially evolve on a blockchain. So it's really that perfect storm.
This is the gap that we're trying to close. It's an education gap, and it's particularly a DeFi education gap, because we're not going to pretend to have all the knowledge when it comes to TradFi. There's people that have been around in that business for so long, but we have been in this industry essentially, and you've been here as well, essentially as long as the industry's been around. There's a few OGs out there, but when it comes to building out these blockchain businesses, we've seen it from the start. And so we understand the core technological features that go into it, and also the limitations, both at an ideological level and a technological level. And so I'm curious about how this plays out, because we have these people coming in, but they don't necessarily share the ideology until they learn about it and they understand, wait, this ideology isn't here just for all of us to sing kumbaya. This is actually the right way to do things in general. And so when they come here, we kind of had that first wave of consortium chains and all L1s, and they did it their way and it didn't work. And now they're coming around to, wait, maybe the principles that were here in this industry when we came here were actually the right ones. And now they're starting to kind of adopt the philosophy. And so I'm curious how this integration process takes place. And it kind of seems like, maybe I'm curious how you're seeing it, but the incumbents in TradFi, the ones that are more adaptive to the ideological principles in crypto and DeFi, those are the ones that are poised for success, because they can take all their experience and apply it to the principles that we have in this industry. Is that kind of how you're thinking about it? You thinking about it similarly, differently?
Totally agree. I mean, if you're not learning from all the mistakes and experiments and successes of crypto, over the last, 6 to 8 years, like, then you're not going to make it. So you can't just come in and like copy paste Wall Street onto a blockchain and say like, yeah, this is it. In fact, like, you do need to understand, it's kind of similar in payments. It's similar in anything that blockchains are trying to do, which is they're trying to collapse really the supply chain or value chain. And in doing so, ideally, we can create better networks that are cheaper, faster, more transparent, safer, have less platform risk, and then by creating this plumbing basically, and that's what we find really interesting about what Legion and Denari are doing is like the more and more people that plug into these networks, right? The more wallets, apps, exchanges, you create this user base that is massive that can tap into something with one click. So rather than doing like IPO and paying a bunch of bankers, or you're doing a Series B raise, you're raising from one fund, like what if you could raise 50, 100, 200, 500 mil from a combination of funds and retail? And so like think of this example. We were talking about this actually. We have a weekly crypto call here at Vaneck with like 30-something people globally that are working on this stuff. And it was funny. I didn't even think of Legion in this context, but imagine a future state when someone's like, hey, we're going to raise a Series A, and these funds can use Legion and bid on that. It's not just like the best fund wins or the highest price, right? It's like combination of all these things. Like, how are you going to help this company win? And then retail gets to follow on and get an allocation. And this is all done where it's like, my terms, we have the same vesting terms, like you are treated as an equal. There's disclosures around who our market makers are, team vesting. So like, again, we're taking like the best principles of like what we've learned from crypto, but then like applying it, and that could be done in equity too. Like, it doesn't have to just be this. So totally agree. You gotta. Yep. I think this is like two worlds converging in the middle.
So, with that convergence happening, and I totally agree on the Legion side of things. We've been operating in this world where, frankly, Gary Gensler, it's hard to overstate how much Gary Gensler has caused Fugazi, tech debt, social layer divide. Like, you can literally extrapolate so many things in crypto to like one set of, a regulatory body of the last 4 years and see there's so much downstream effect of it. And we're just slowly untangling this mess at, one blockchain, one launch, one product at a time. Even recently, John Charb's asking for Hyperliquid to cut their supply by 45% because they basically, all these tokens, they have these allocations that were set up to basically create this Fugazi, decentralization, methodology that effectively inflate their FDV so high such that outside investors see this difference between the circulating market cap, the FDV. They question whether there's growth from the FDV. They see Hyperliquid at 50 billion. They're like, where can this realistically go? When in reality, John's making the claim that, well, the market cap's about half of that realistically, and that the true market cap is somewhere between the circulating and the fully diluted. And why? It's because, well, all these token companies have had to play this game, and this kind of create this. He even called it like this token socialism, and I kind of brought it back to Gary Gensler and to the regulatory. But all of that is kind of behind us now, and we now have the ability to basically invest into really quality startups that just want to create revenue, that create real product market fit, drive that value to tokens, drive that value to the community. One of those companies we will hope that can do this successfully is Loop. Loop is a portco of Vaneck Ventures. You know them well. You guys announced them alongside Fabric, A16Z Archetype. And basically, you're trying to power global merchant acceptance of stablecoin payments. When I read that, I think about, okay, right now I cannot go to Starbucks and pay at a point of sale system like Toast with my stablecoins. It just doesn't exist. When are we going to have Stripe has Tempo, they have Stripe, they have Bridge, they have a L1 coming. There's a whole path there where there's no bank needed. But the last step where the banks are still required or Visa is still required is that last mile. So kind of curious from your perspective, merchants on Loop have been absolutely crushing their international reach. They've been killing it. What is the stable coins to be integrated into Visa and Swift? How does this payment system kind of fully come together? I'm curious, like, what your thesis is at Vaneck that led to this investment.
Yeah, I mean, it's an area we've been watching for a long time, but I think you kind of nailed it, which is, you know, merchants are strangely like in that value chain. Merchants are the ones that would probably benefit the most from stablecoins, and if you have clarity on the back of that, you could easily you think about it in like one click in a terminal, swap that into like some sort of tokenized yield bearing product that could be, kind of you could swing on the risk curve here, but you could deposit into Aave, you could buy T-bills. Like you could think of this as like, I always talk about stablecoins being your checking account, any kind of tokenized T-bill type products being like your new savings account. And the reason merchants would benefit the most is that they're the ones who have to pay all the fees, and they're the ones who also have to wait to get their money. But think about for you and I, right? We just scan our face and tap our phone. Banks then value, because banks are the ones that are actually doing the reconciliation here. And so like, it's advantageous for banks to move your money slowly. And so, yeah, you're right. Like we were mentioning this earlier, kind of collapsing the supply chain, value chain here. It's like, you cut a lot of people out of it. In fact, the issuers themselves in these cases and the underlying blockchain. So let's say like USDC on Arc, right? Using a system like Loop, like Circle is kind of the bank here. And then all you need is Circle's banking relationships should the merchant really want to like cash back to a bank account. But I think increasingly you're going to see these issuers become banks themselves, in which case you probably would never leave some sort of Circle environment, right? Like it'd be like a Circle wallet with USDC and Arc. And the really cool part about the infrastructure they built as well is like you have a single account balance across really like any chain. So should you be opinionated of the chain that you want, you can just scroll and be like, okay, I really want USDC on Solana, right? Because maybe I have to pay my vendors out and, they prefer Solana. Like this is where the kind of B2B payments landscape gets really, really interesting. Still have to follow all the rules, still have to be compliant. So that's why I think there will be intermediaries like Loop that will enable this. We've also made investments into companies like 𝘳𝘪. 𝘳𝘪 is also taking a different kind of merchant approach, doing it in emerging markets or kind of broadly the global south. You can think of it as like anyone who swaps their local currency for dollars can now scan a QR code and swap for stablecoins. My partner Juan is Colombian. His mom's been going to the same corner store his whole life to hold US dollars. There's such high demand for US dollars. Stablecoins, interestingly, have the highest premium there because the best dollar is a digital dollar that you don't have to keep under your mattress. And so this is a huge, huge opportunity as well, because we know the demand for stablecoins in these countries. 𝘳𝘪, using a former portfolio company of ours called Rain, who's just raised a really large $57 million Series B, also offers a card product. So you can spend in stablecoins, you can swap local cash into stablecoins. And I think they've had something like 35,000 merchants sign up pre-launch. So again, shows the demand. Like this creates a local on the ground FX market, also enables people to have control over their spending once they swap that into your account. And it starts to kind of look like Uber for stablecoins meets like a neobank. So I mean, it's really interesting. Like if you look back, like companies like Rain, right? I think Farouk and Charles started that like 4 years ago. And shout out to the Rain team, because so many of my former Circle friends are also now working there. All of this infrastructure was being built kind of in the dark. Like, again, it wasn't like a really hot category, but the numbers were exploding as stablecoin volumes and market caps were exploding. And so now we're like really reaping the benefits of that, and all the fintechs can build on top of it. So that's why like we're kind of getting into the last mile point where you can go build that B2B product or that B2C product, and there's demand from day one. Yep. And you can leverage this infrastructure to actually compete with legacy institutions, because the value prop, kind of using the Peter Thiel 0 to 1 thing, like has to be 10x better, has to be 10x cheaper, has to be 10x faster. And like finally we've reached that point. So yeah, that's another reason why I'm bullish on kind of the category for venture. Is like there are going to be so many of these companies that are going out there. The dangerous part is you're going to get all of the huge companies like Ramp, Deal, et cetera, Robinhood, like they're all going to compete as well. So you have to be careful, like Are stablecoins a feature here, or is there something that actually has a durable moat?
Yeah, I think that's a really good segue here. So Tether is onboarding maybe 100,000 people a week, I believe, on a Tether or some crazy stat like that. I've heard multiple iterations, variations, a couple 100,000 a day, 50,000 a day, 100,000 a week. It's something crazy, right? And they just announced that they're going to try to raise at $500 billion valuation. And I put a tweet about it saying, like, look, in the same way that CZ is not about to just let Jeff from Hyperliquid take his entire business, you know, Bank of America, Goldman, JP Morgan, Robinhood, Schwab, Fidelity, they're not just going to let Tether come in and take all their business, right? And so, when you're thinking about that kind of coalescence of, these DeFi crypto stablecoins going up against these corporate stablecoins, I think the easiest way to ask this is, like, is Tether, like, what are the considerations that one would have to make should they be given the opportunity to invest in Tether at 500 billion? I mean, specifically with regards to the competition from corporations, nothing kind of outside of that. Like, Tether at 500 billion, a very, very large number, but could be reasonable to some large investors. But I think if you're thinking about the perspective of the corporate competition, why I'm curious, like, how do you see, like, where are the zones where these two sides of the coin will clash the very most?
Yeah, so Mike just put out a tweet on this, and I actually just commented, like, right before I got on the stream, which is, like, he was like, hey, if Tether would be, if they get this valuation, would be the second largest bank in the world by market cap, which means they'd be worth 2 times Goldman Sachs. If you look at Goldman Sachs, and by the way, like, Tether is an incredible business, but if you look at Goldman Sachs, they have like 3.14 trillion AUM, 56 billion revenue in 2024. Circle's 173 billion, 13 billion of revenue. We're entering into an environment where rates are likely going to drop. They're clearly going to use this money to probably acquire, to move into other business lines. But to us, it's also really clear, like, why are Circle, Stripe, and everybody launching all these other products? Why are they launching blockchains? Why do they have payment APIs? Why do they have wallets? They're trying to move into more of a transactional business model, where stablecoins can be a loss-leading product. They can be a CAC tool. And you're already seeing that with fintechs like Coinbase. Like, they're not making much money, if at all, on Coinbase balances that are sitting in the Coinbase app when they're giving you 4+%. That money is actually just being taken from Circle and being given to you. And so I see the same thing happening in the B2B world, where, like, the float is a short-term business model to buy you time to move into a transactional business. So, as impressive as it is, I think that price is incredibly aggressive. But I don't have all the details, right?
I mean,
I don't know what Tether has cooking. So,
like, where are you trying to get to? Like 5 trillion?
Why? What you're saying is that they could actually
500
lose
billion?
money on stable coins as a business, and then they would
not lose
use
money, but
that.
just use it as like hey, you hold, which Tether doesn't do today, right? Like, Circle does with everyone. We saw what happened with Hyperliquid, right? Hyperliquid, I think, is the clearest example where the market is trending. People were willing to offer 100% of the yield back to Hyperliquid, right? They were just like, we'll effectively do this for free, just to get that distribution. So it's clear that is, and that was kind of our pitch when we were fundraising too, is like, we think that these businesses are going to move into alternate business lines, and that there's opportunities to invest in kind of the middle layer of the stack or just the end distribution. Another example of this is Santiago, or Santi, who founded Inversion. We invested in Inversion as well. It's like, why? Well, because he can go take this kind of out of the box chain and go pop a business with 10, 20, 30 million users on top of it. And then, like, you could run that same playbook. So it's clear, like, everybody's kind of coming to that conclusion. And the USDH, drama, for lack of a better word, was a great example of, I think, what's to come. It's not going to happen that quickly, because Circle and Tether have the best network effects. They have the best liquidity. And so people will pay for that. I also think there's a brand association here that they want. Like, people are still pumped about native USDC. And that's good, because Circle can give them, like, great tooling to make their ecosystem actually work. But I do think over time, you're going to see the same thing happen. And so for Tether, it's like, what's that story, right? Because, like, Circle went to market, and one of the reasons the IPO was so successful, from what I've heard, is that Wall Street really just started copying them to Visa. They're like, hey, this is the new Visa. This is like a vertically integrated stablecoin issuer. that offers wallets that can move in, will launch their own blockchain, that offers their own native bridge. And again, because they control all of that infrastructure, including the end banking relationships, they can choose to dial up or dial down, right? They can turn CCTP fees on, but do complete yield sharing back on USDC, depending on your volume. They can enable, gasless transactions if they want to on ARC. They can do all sorts of interesting things. Now, you could argue it's not fully decentralized, and maybe it's permissioned, or kind of it's permissionless, but they control it. But over time, if they can start to decentralize that, it does become really compelling infrastructure.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I mean, that is just, it sounds like you are on the fringe here of the inevitable, which is this returning of yield somewhere else other than just the stablecoin issuer. I was at StableCon in I think May or something in New York City. I spoke to 5 people who are waiting on they were like fintech companies. They're basically just yep, as soon as the Genius Act is passed, we're just going to launch a stablecoin and we're just going to give 2.5% back and just keep the other half. So it's immediately people are just sharking on this.
Yeah, and again, certain people can. If I'm Robinhood and I own the end customer, it's much easier for me to do that. Where things start to break down is that crypto is inherently fragmented. We have all these different chains. We have all these different pockets of liquidity. And it's actually really interesting if you think about it from that perspective, because every net new stablecoin actually just benefits Circle and Tether, because you have to create liquidity pairs against them.
Yeah.
So it just makes them stronger and stronger. And then eventually, and we've seen this before, Aave, people forget, but Aave launched stablecoin, Near launched a stablecoin. In prior cycles, everybody launched stablecoins for the same reason, because we've been in this rate environment for a long time. So this dates back to 21, 22 bull market era.
Yep.
It generally, it doesn't work out for most of them, but I do think in these closed loop environments where you're really using it again as a CAC tool to offer yield back to your customers, you can do that. Strong likelihood though, when you're moving those assets, you likely swap back into a major like USDC or USDT.
Based on that, I realized that this is effectively like a new Forex market, in the same way that some of these other non-US dollar currencies are then pegged or kept at some ratio to the US dollar, and maybe there's a floating peg. There's different variations, but effectively we're going to start to see a lot of similar market structures evolve in stablecoins.
100%. Yeah, and right now all of them are USD denominated, but increasingly, again, if you assume that there's going to be more penetration the global South, people will start popping up and creating those local stablecoins will likely run through local networks, and then you'll swap back into your US dollar stablecoins, likely for kind of that savings purpose. And then this begins to expand into all different types of yield, which is where kind of DeFi and tokenized assets, or people call them RWAs, that world just converges really, really quickly. What we really need is the most, if Clarity could do anything, it'd be provide some guidance on that, because again, you create a whole host of KYC AML issues. We were just on a call talking about this earlier today as well, which is in the traditional system, everybody at each individual point in the chain is licensed in some way, shape, or form, and you have broker dealers, you have exchanges that operate as brokerage firms, and maybe they need alternative trading systems licenses, and then you have all these rules around can a not accredited investor participate? I get the sense that the SEC, and maybe soon the SEC and CFTC as one collective body, will start to change a lot of these rules, because blockchains inherently challenge the entire nature of them, which is why do we need a transfer agent? Why do we need these things? And Hester Pearson, they've all commented on this, but that I think is where things get really, really interesting, because then yield is just broadly accessible on the internet, yield in any shape or form. And so that's going to benefit stablecoins greatly. It's going to benefit DeFi greatly. But I think it comes in the back of some move on the regulatory side.
Yep. Wyatt Lonergan, GP at Vaneck Ventures, great session today. Thank you for your time. Always a pleasure. We'll have you on again in a couple weeks to months and recap. I'd love to just keep tabs on your portcos and some of our shared ones as well. Stoked to be here, and thanks for your time today, man.
Appreciate the
Anytime.
insights.
Thanks, guys, and congrats on all the progress.
Yes, sir. We'll see you in the city soon, man.
All right.
Peace out, buddy.
See you, brother.
All righty, Rob. All righty. Well, we have the Stabled Up episode 2 coming next. But first, we got some news. Ultra joins the 𝘗𝘁 crypto team. Ultra has officially put his tweet out. We will get that up later in the week as we kind of build out some more of the features on the show. But I mean, I'm just gonna pull up Ultra's tweet, and so Ultra is joining 𝘗𝘁 to accelerate the on-chain revolution. He's bullish on prediction markets. He's been green pilled, and he says that they are an industry. They are a new financial instrument. They are a new asset class. He believes 𝘗𝘁 will win because for a variety of reasons. He clipped some of our awesome stream, and he's very, very bullish. So he's been working on fun social experiences. This is a guy who's been a vibe coder, been creating really cool products in crypto. So congrats to Ultra. 𝘗𝘁 is recruiting an army of crypto natives. We're excited to be partnered with them as well. It seems like crypto Twitter is coming on to be very, very bullish on prediction markets. Congrats to Ultra. He's the man. I've hung out with him several times. Love the guy. So yeah, Robert, anything on that?
I think you're right. In the sense that 𝘗𝘁 is building out this crypto army. And I think it's no surprise based on our conversation with 𝘮𝑒ℏ and John Wang. We talked with John about the partnership with Robinhood, and we see the direction that Robinhood is going. We see the direction that financial institutions are going in general. We know that 𝘗𝘁 is building prediction markets, a brand new asset class. And based on everything that you and I know and the way that this industry is going, it makes complete sense that they're following in the footsteps of giants. They're also paving a whole new asset class, and that's going to happen on chain, and they have to invest in that industry. And so there's a ripe amount of experience that they've now hired in their new talent. I think they're going to tap into that experience. I think they're also going to leverage partners like ourselves to get that message out, and also to be pioneers like we've been with the base app, with experimenting on new media features. I think we're going to have some really interesting things as far as integrations into our social feeds. I think we're going to be really flushing out what the next era of prediction markets looks like, because we're going beyond the vanilla binary options, yes and no type markets. We're going to end up getting community generated markets. There's going to be all kinds of trading interfaces. Look, I still think one of the most bullish things about the entire 𝘗𝘁 announcement that occurred yesterday, and now Ultra's on board, is 𝘮𝑒ℏ coming on and saying effectively the right way to think about 𝘗𝘁 is an L1. Yeah, because there's going to be all of these applications that are now built on top of the 𝘗𝘁 protocol, which is this liquidity layer that is optimized for prediction markets. They're not thinking about themselves as a social app or even a financial app. No, effectively now the Rollup is this social app, right? Integrated with 𝘗𝘁. There's going to be financial apps that are integrated with 𝘗𝘁, trading bots, trading interfaces, the whole docket.
With differentiated UX and feel for each kind of segment that John said, for different sports, for politics, etc. So I'm stoked. Congrats to Ultra. Congrats to the 𝘗𝘁 team. Guys, we've got Stabled Up episode 2 rolling out next. We're going to take a quick break, and then we are going to roll right into that. So thanks for being here. Get ready for Stabled Up episode 2. And yeah, guys, we'll take a quick break here, and we will roll into the Stabled Up episode number 2. We've got Six Man Ventures. We've got Paxos today. So let's take a quick break, and we will get on to the Stabled Up show now. What's going on, guys? Welcome to episode number 2 of Stabled Up. We have Carl from Six Man Ventures. We've got Bao from Paxos. They actually used to work together, so it should be some good vibes and team chemistry here today. Rob, good to see you in Korea. Carl, welcome to the show for the first time. We've had your partner Mike on once or twice, but good to have you. Bao, good to see you again. Guys, this is Stabled Up, presented by Frax, one of the leading stablecoins in the space since 2020, 2019, DeFi champions, pushing hard into the regulatory environment with their Genius Act compliant stablecoins and their yield-bearing stablecoin. We got a lot to talk about today, guys. So, Carl, why don't you open us up? Quick intro about yourself, Six Man. Bao, it's good to have you back, and then we will get right into it.
Terrific. I've been a general partner at Six Man for 3 years. My background's in product and engineering. That's really where I tend to spend a lot of time when I work with companies. Six Man Ventures at a high level is an early stage venture fund where we invest in crypto native founders at the earliest stages, pre-seed through Series A.
Beautiful. Thank you. Carl, welcome to the show. Bao, it's your first time back.
I think it's Bo. Sorry, Rob. I think I keep saying Bao. I think it's Bo.
Yeah, you did. I thought it was Bo, and then you said, okay. We'll throw that one out.
It's a tricky one.
I think it's because he's
Rob,
in Asia.
you're forgiven.
He's in Asia, so he's like thinking bows all the time. You know what I mean? I think that's what's going on right now.
He's got the Korean barbecue on his mind.
I was going to forgive you because you're in Korea right now. And it's probably middle of the night.
There's not much sleep in Korea. Bo, welcome back. First time since the USDH saga. Vote went one way or the other, but I'm curious how you've been since the vote. Give us some takeaways and just some reflections on really the process and how things have been the last few weeks.
Totally. Well, first of all, it took a few days to recover after that. That was a week of no sleep for sure, but it was a lot of fun. And so coming out of it, I think the reaction from the community, regardless of how the vote went, we had so much outreach in the days following the vote from all the teams we talked to, and they're like, hey, we still really want to work with you guys, which has been an awesome reaction, right? And I think we really achieved what we wanted out of that kind of whole proposal. Would have been great to win, don't get me wrong, but it was like an accelerated 1 week timeline just to get to know so many different community members and teams building in Hyperliquid, some that we were already connected with, some that we connected with for the first time. And so just all coming out of that is the warm reception from the Hyperliquid community, even though we didn't win, and saying, hey, please come still build with us. We still want to do things. And so we have some team members in Korea this week, and we're kind of like continuing on our plans to kind of decide on like the right set of partners to start building with in Hyperliquid. And so, we're still continuing on, we're still excited to keep building in the space. And so, appreciate the warm welcome from the Hyperliquid community, regardless of the outcome of the vote. And we're excited to keep going.
I saw Native Markets just deployed USDH today onto Hyperliquid. So congrats to them. And the competition has just started. So it was great to see all the different providers come out and express their support. Just to have Arthur Hayes dump on us after calling it for 128x. What's new with that guy? Well, I mean, that's just like clockwork. All right, boys, let's not bury the lead. Tether at $500 billion valuation seeking 20 bill. Bullish or bearish? Carl, go.
I think it's bullish. I think at the end of the day, people have thought about money as a legacy financial system and thought about valuation metrics on that framework. But really, these are technology companies. The hard part of these businesses is not the reserve management. There's actually, with the Genius Act, increasingly clear guidelines on how to manage that capital. It's about technology and distribution. And so with that, I think they're extremely well positioned to continue to eat market share. I mean, the valuation's high, but at the end of the day, I think they are the leading stablecoin out there in terms of adoption and growth. And I think with the addition of Bo Hines to their team, it's just continuing to deepen that regulatory situation. I think the last thing I'd be thinking about is not just technology, but also AI. I think it's still wide open as to, are AI agents going to pay on chain, which chain are they going to pay on, and which stablecoin are they going to use? And I think that's a key area where whoever wins that space is going to grow massively. So I think it's obviously very expensive. We don't participate in rounds like that, but I understand why people are so excited about Tether.
I think that's a really interesting point about AI, because that's not something that was intuitive when this announcement came out. That is a conversation topic here in Korea. 𝗂𝘅 was on stage today. He was talking about how we've essentially had the formation of stablecoin dominated economic zones. And so we have an on-chain stablecoin. It's primarily Circle with USDC. And then we have off-chain and centralized exchange stablecoins, which are primarily USDT denominated markets with Binance and with originally it was Bitfinex. But now you have those perps that are denominating those asset classes. And so if you have AI agents on chain, they're primarily going to be consolidated into a single stable coin because that's where liquidity goes. So I'm curious actually from the first point that you made, Carl, because I want to pass this to Bo and get his perspective on it. We had Wyatt on just a few minutes ago. He was talking about how, look, Mike Dudas, Carl, your partner, put out a tweet, said this is, effectively 2x Goldman Sachs at this valuation. Meanwhile, Goldman Sachs has $3+ trillion in assets under management. Tether's got something like 167 billion. Maybe it's a little bit more than that, but it's not 3 trillion. So, Bo, you make, Carl, you made the point about this being a technology company. Bo, do you think that's the right way to think about, stablecoin issuers? You being a stablecoin issuer with Paxos, is it a technology company? Is it a finance company? It's somewhere in the middle. But generally, when you're thinking about the growth pattern, how do you think, and the valuation heuristic here, how do you think is the right way to think about these issuing companies?
Yeah. I mean, I absolutely think these types of companies are technology companies, right? And I think the point that's really interesting to me is yes, it's 2x the valuation of Goldman Sachs. How many employees does Goldman Sachs have versus how many employees does Tether have? The operational leverage that Tether has gone from both technology and network effects that they built up is incredible. And I think it's just a reminder of the operational leverage and scale that kind of crypto or call it technology-enabled financial companies can get to. And I think it's incredibly bullish, right? And I think this has always been kind of the hypothesis of everything we've done with Paxos and Paxos Labs of hey, we think this is gonna be a massive industry, but also the idea of bringing code and automation and technology to money is, I think, such a massive opportunity that I think some people in crypto understand it, but I don't think the world at large has really internalized that. And I saw some of the headlines yesterday. I was at this valuation, Tether would be the largest privately valued company next to OpenAI, and everyone gets the potential of OpenAI, but I don't think until that number, people really understood the scale and the kind of leverage people can get with applying technology to money as a sector.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's people on the street who haven't even heard of Tether. Legitimately, people that are working in traditional banking or investment banking that have not heard of Tether. This is going to be on their desk as of last night, this morning, a shock. I think the one thing that people are thinking about is, well, if they're going to raise this much money, 20 billion at a $500 billion valuation, the question is, are they worried about the interest rate trend being, going down, that being a large part of their business model, interest income? And then how do they think about actually creating new business lines with this raised capital or with their current stack? They own farms in Latin America. They own equity in Bitcoin mining companies. They own Bitcoin gold. How do you guys think about Tether expanding their business lines to basically protect against the decline in revenue from dropping interest rates? I'd like to hear from you both on this. Maybe Bo, you can start off.
Yeah, I mean, look, I can't speak as much to their ambitions on farming in Argentina. I'm not an expert there. Seems interesting, seems cool. The thing I've always thought about with kind of these early movers on stablecoins, particularly Tether, right? Because Tether keeps almost all of the yield that's generated by USDT, people are effectively paying to use Tether, and they're trading kind of the amazing network effects and liquidity and availability and on and off ramps of Tether in exchange for saying, I'll forego my yield. My thinking is, and my hypothesis has been eventually in the long term, the economics or margins of stablecoin issuers look a lot more like asset management businesses, right? Where you're looking at 20, 30, 40, 50 bips on assets under management. And then, you're monetizing around that. The question that, I've been asking myself is, well, are Tether's network effects so strong that they're going to be able to fight that fee compression for longer than other companies, right? But tied to that kind of AI point, if you do have an AI agent that's transacting with stablecoins, they're going to programmatically find the best deal and find the best economics, right? And if there's another stable coin that enables them to achieve their stated goal or outcome, but it actually has better economics on it for them, AI is more likely to dynamically switch that than a human, right? Human consumer behavior is much harder to change and often not like rational, versus with an AI agent that's doing this, you can literally program it to say, I want to achieve this outcome with the best economics possible. And it will go scan and actually like go iterate through that. And I think that actually might drive some of this fee compression for issuers. But I think issuers need to be playing for the long game. And I believe that eventually like margins compress to like an asset management business model versus like you keep everything.
Yep. Carl, would love to get your take on this. And I just want to throw in there, you know, this is probably very path dependent. You know, once those liquidity network effects become entrenched, I think you're totally right about the programmatic effect of AI and the adaptability and the ability to switch and pivot. But ultimately, you know, once these things take hold, these liquidity network effects they tend to compound. Carl, how are you thinking about this?
Yeah, I imagine that. I mean, I guess in thinking about the question, it's like, where don't they expand? Like money is used in every part of our lives, everything from, you know, e-commerce, you know, physical retail, checkout, global financing, prime brokerage. So I think there's essentially unlimited upside that Tether can achieve. I think the most interesting business model here is democratizing financial services that previously were not available to like 99% of the population. If you look at, you know, how today people are saving and spending in Tether in emerging markets, you imagine new financing products that can go with that to now enable the thing like getting loans that we can do today in the United States that's not available for most of the world. So basically all the financial services we get today, democratizing them and being the conduit and trusted brand name that people utilize. The last part on the business model that's really interesting is on the blockchain side. So we're investors in Plasma. And what I see is the beauty about having a blockchain or partnering with a blockchain is now you don't just get money based on the interest, you get money based on gas fees for every single transaction. It's like, imagine if you're able to be Tether and build out an ecosystem through Plasma or any other network that they choose to partner with. And from that, be able to get a portion of every single transaction that takes place on chain. That's where this becomes a revenue monster, as you know, especially considering that interest rates are going to come down over time.
Andy, you're on mute there.
Sorry, guys. Just to double click on the Plasma point. Today is Wednesday, the 24th. Tomorrow is Plasma's mainnet. This is live today. Will be released as a full episode tomorrow. Plasma mainnet. What does this mean for Tether? Obviously, coming out as the category leader in the stablecoin chain wars. I think, you know, one could say very highly competitive market. You've got, you know, Stripe's Tempo, you've got Circle's Arc, you've got Plasma and Stable on the Tether side. What does Plasma's mainnet mean for Tether's valuation, for Tether's entrenching its USDT asset across the world globally? And, you know, yeah, let's just start there. And then I'm curious to get your take on their Plasma One announcement as well.
Yeah. So I look at it as it now gives people a safe and secure place to transfer Tether with an elevated user experience compared to what you can get today on any other blockchain network. That's because it's designed with stablecoins in mind. And so in terms of becoming and this relates to Plasma One, basically the consumer bank for the world is the way I think about it. Unlike banks today that are bound by regulatory restrictions and different geographies and other considerations, stablecoins are global by nature. And so there's no bounds to how quickly these stablecoin issuers and networks more broadly can touch, and they can scale at exponential rates faster than I need to do in order to enter a new country. I need to get a bunch of licenses, et cetera. You know, stablecoins are ubiquitous and universal. So I think there's just unlimited growth rate here. Plasma is very well positioned and already partnering with Tether to be one of the places where the world comes to save and spend and do more.
Yeah, just disclosure, our fund invested in Plasma as well. Met Paul quite a while ago and have been super close to them. It's trading pre-markets right now at about $8 to $9 billion fully diluted valuation, which is a big win, I'm sure, for Six Man as well as for our fund, which we're rolling out the branding for and whatnot very, very soon. It's Good Idea Ventures. It is a prop capital fund. probably around 7 figs invested principal, maybe just over $1 million. We've had some big winners so far. We got a long way to go. Robbie and I are starting our career the last 2 years. Bo, just quick from you, take on Plasma, take on the stable chain or stable coin chain kind of wars, what this means for Tether.
Yeah, so I think the most interesting thing is Plasma One. And the reason is the thing that I believe since I got into the space, and really like the reason why I joined Paxos in the first place was I've always believed that the broad adoption of crypto, stable coins, blockchain rails is going to come through existing kind of like fintech interfaces, right? And the reason I believe this was I worked at Cash App and Square before I came to Paxos. And one of the things I saw was it is so hard to actually like do customer acquisition in a consumer fintech setting. And what we were doing at Cash App was we were actually going around the world and investing or acquiring kind of like the P2P apps in different regions. And what we were finding was if you were a second mover, like Cash App was actually kind of like an anomaly, that it was a second mover in the market that was actually able to catch enough market share. And we found that's very hard to do. And so taking that experience beyond, what I've been thinking about is like, well, I think the Plasma approach is very interesting. I think Plasma One looks like an awesome app. I would love to use it. The question becomes like, do they end up developing kind of the muscle to go run like consumer fintech like customer acquisition, right? I think it's a very different muscle, a very different motion than crypto user acquisition, right? And so the question I have in my mind is it the Plasma Ones of the world, which are these kind of built from the ground up like stable coin or blockchain aligned fintech apps? Or is it the Cash Apps of the world, the Gcashes, the Paytms of the world that actually get around to implementing these services, and they already have the distribution, right? And we know like Ant and Alibaba are looking at this, like so. That's kind of the race that I'm seeing, and I'm curious to see how it plays out. I love the idea of an app that's built from the ground up, like around stablecoin rails. But again, like maybe I'm like scarred from my past experience. Getting distribution in consumer fintech is very hard. And so like my bet is slightly towards the like existing fintechs getting together to like actually do some of this stuff. And for what it's worth, that's kind of like what we're focused on at Paxos Labs is like, we think, yes, stablecoin access for existing kind of like fintech platforms is important, but there's also kind of things that come beyond that, right? And this is kind of what Carl was getting at. It's like, well, you just do stablecoins and then maybe you do payments, but then there's all these things around lending, borrowing, all the financial services that can be built around stablecoins. And I think that's gonna, like every fintech app in the world is gonna get there. It's just a matter of when, is how I think about it.
Carl, anything to add there?
No, I think he's spot on. The only thing I'd add is I think Tether has distribution. I don't know Cash App numbers versus Tether, but I'd assume that more people know and have heard of and used Tether globally than Cash App. So I think when you start to pair the distribution that they've already achieved with the technology, blockchain, and to your point, like the financing layer that can be added on top, it's a pretty powerful combination. The last thing I'd add is, banks today, when they're valued, they don't really have ecosystems, or at least not robust ecosystems. But blockchains, by definition, to Bo's point, are challenging to build. But if you can build them, you reap enormous rewards. And so you're taking the benefits of banks and money ownership and movement with the ability to build an ecosystem where now anybody can also build value add services and platforms on top. I think it's a pretty exciting combination.
Beautiful. All right, gents, rolling into the next topic, we've got stablecoins to be used as collateral in the U.S. derivatives markets. So it's kind of a vague headline here, but curious for your initial reactions. What does this mean for stablecoin adoption? Maybe what does this even mean? Like, what is the current collateral in U.S. derivatives markets? How do these things settle? And what does the addition of stablecoins eventually mean? Maybe we can start with just understanding how U.S. derivatives markets work first. If either of you guys would like to take a quick stab at that.
I don't have a background in traditional finance. Here's what I would hypothesize, or unless Bo, you want to start, if you have a back. Okay,
go for it. I'm happy to share thoughts.
My hypothesis is anyone that's lived through. Actually, when I joined Paxos, the reason is I listened to Chad on a podcast, and he talked about the 2008 financial crisis, and at the time, nobody knew where their assets were. And I actually lived this through the SVB collapse, where I manage all of our assets and we had wires in different places, and I'm moving wires and literally don't know where the money is. And I think stablecoins have a very, it's very clearly understood who had what money and when. And with that, that's where this starts to become powerful, is when you have these markets, and if there is any sort of collapse or extreme volatility, and people are losing their financial positions, we now have the ability to trace the money, and I can understand, did this confirmation and transaction go through or not? And just that peace of mind and speed of settlement can actually help limit the downside in these financial catastrophic scenarios. So I think that's where it can be powerful. I think in the early days, it's going to take time to get adoption. People are used to wires, but it's more seamless to use. When we fund companies, we need to do callback numbers for wires, and it's such a pain. Versus, I think this is going to simplify back office operations for all these companies that use, futures, and now they can use stablecoins and have lower operational requirements, and it can actually help speed up settlement. So I'm pretty optimistic, but I don't expect huge outcome immediately. I also don't know this market well. And so as a typical VC, I can opine on anything without having as deep of depth here. But I'm always quick to say when I don't have depth in an area versus when I do.
I'll say a few things with the same disclaimer. This is not my area of expertise or area of depth, but I think on the surface, the potential benefits are clear, right? Faster settlement times, lower transaction cost, 24/7, to Carl's point, transparency. I think all that's really interesting. I think there's another piece that's really interesting around all the actions that are actually taken, right? Kind of margin calls, like doing all the kind of actions that need to happen when you're running an exchange or like a trading operation. The ability to automate that with a modern tech stack, right? I think that is like really exciting to me because again, like that's the thing I always come back to with stablecoins. It's like modern tech stack on money. That is amazing. Like a lot of the banking system is built on a very like legacy tech stack. And it's all built in silos. So we're talking about a transparent, interconnected tech stack that enables money to move. Now, with that said, one of the things I've been kind of like noodling on over the last 24 hours is like the idea of stablecoin accepted as collateral for futures trading sounds amazing. And what I was playing out was like, let's say like tomorrow they like go through this comment period and they're like, amazing, this is great, we're gonna do it. What does that actually mean to go do it, right? There's a whole laundry list of things, and I'm sure Carl can help me out here. But it's like, okay, well, some of these venues need institutional grade wallets to manage these. Like where are they actually holding these stable coins, right? They need wallets. They actually need the ability to like call smart contracts. They need to be able to reconcile stablecoin balances versus fiat balances, do the reporting that's required by the CFTC of them. So there's like this whole implementation path that I can see like being like years of work. I don't know, maybe a year of work at least. And so I think that like the headline's very exciting, but when I like stop to think about it, it's like, oh man, like actually like all of the venues that participate in this market would need to like level up their infrastructure to actually support this and all of their operations.
Yeah, we haven't really had a new financial system since we became digitized. Even the fintech area was putting lipstick, was putting lipstick on a pig. This is the first time, to Bo's point, we're able to rebuild from the ground up this financial layer on blockchain rails. And with that comes a lot of automation, a lot of transparency, and it's very exciting.
I think the 24/7 nature, Rob, as well, and I know you guys something is where that the entire traditional financial sector is heading towards. Feels like this is like a little hint as to like, hey guys, like we're starting to think about how do we get this thing to be working all the time.
I'm curious, who do you guys think this push is coming from? Like obviously us in this room, like we've probably been thinking, oh, the traditional financial system has been legacy for too long. We want to change that. But who do you think is, at the CFTC, and, are they spearheading these conversations and it just kind of came to this naturally? Or do you think there's entities out there that are sort of, they had this in mind and they're pushing for it?
So my take is that we've shifted into an administration that where being pro-innovation is rewarded and applauded. And so I think even SEC Chair Paul Atkins kind of did a speech a couple weeks ago in Paris, and he spent a lot of time talking about kind of like this being crypto's moment and all the things that the SEC wants to do to ensure we're creating kind of a pro-innovation environment. And I think like a similar kind of like sentiment coming out of the CFTC. And so I think we've shifted towards like an environment where administrations are rewarding people for being pro-innovation versus kind of like pro-enforcement. And it creates like a whole different set of like incentives, but also like I think there are a lot of people at these agencies that are pro-innovation but weren't really being given the space to kind of push some of these new ideas in previous years. And so I think we're in a dramatically different place from like a political environment perspective as far as like crypto goes. And so I think a lot of people are pushing forward ideas that maybe were on the shelf for a few years or just now feel comfortable doing
There's
it.
another innovation here, like a regulatory innovation, which is the potential exploration of combining the CFTC and the SEC under Atkins. And Carl, I think you mentioned earlier in this segment that there's really no need for a lot of the protections that were put in place under the legacy system if we are to upgrade. So how do you think about making this regulatory shift? Is this continuing in a positive note to make this merger between these two agencies?
I don't have a strong point of view. I think it's interesting that we do have this question of going back to orange groves in 1929, is this a security or a commodity? It seems like an outdated set of infrastructure and rubrics that we're using. So like generally it seems like a positive development, streamlining the regulatory process, creating clarity. Right now there's limited clarity. I'm sure if they were combined, the market structure bill would be easier to push through than it is today. So it generally seems positive, but I'm sure there's some unintended consequences that may arise.
Yeah. I mean, I think from the lens of having Gary Gensler in his administration be the cause of so much fugazi, tech debt, social layer divide, DAO structures, lack of efficiency in the industry, it really feels like slowly but surely between the new administration and as well as the newer set of entrepreneurs coming into the space, better talent, we're just kind of slowly unbundling a lot of these. It feels like it's just like a bunch of rubber bands that we're just taking off one by one until we get back to like the core, which I think is just building really, really better technology, helping the financial system go into this new era of internet-based finance, 24/7, verifiability, all the properties that we enjoy about crypto and blockchain that we're now used to, bringing that digital asset infrastructure to the real world. And frankly, I think maybe we can blame the social layer a bit inside of the way that we thought about it. But frankly, I think that we were kind of forced to think about adoption in a way that was coming from a feeling of needing to be protected and not wanting to take legal liability. And so I think it's a really positive development to see as Bo mentioned, just this shift towards innovation and broadly seeing the industry untangle itself slowly but surely here.
But Bo, do you think Gensler was just that bad, or do you think this administration is just that good?
I don't know if I'd make like a definitive statement there. I would just say it's different, right? I would say it's different, and I think like the current scenario or current situation is definitely much more pro innovation. One thing I will say though is I don't think we don't need any regulation. I don't think no regulation is the a little scammy, doesn't it? Sometimes, like, and it's like I'm like, yeah, you're right. Some of it does feel not so great, and it really sucks for people that are trying to build real things and like kind of like innovate in this space. And so I think no regulation isn't the answer either, but I also think there's like a little bit of a burden on us as an industry to better like self-regulate to a certain extent and hold ourselves to a higher standard, because that is also a limiter to growth. If a lot of the world thinks that crypto is just a scam, we're not going to achieve all the things that great things that Carl was talking about earlier about how the whole world has access to these financial products.
Guys, kind of coming to a wrap here in the next 5-10 minutes. When we're thinking about this, broad stablecoin landscape, right now we're operating within, around like, let's call it like 200 billion or so, maybe 300 billion. Sorry, I think it's probably a closer estimate. It's probably around 270 total right now. I think it's pretty clear that we're on a road to $1 trillion of stablecoin supply here, if not multiple trillions. I'm curious what you guys believe that path looks like from the regulatory perspective, from integrations into traditional finance perspective? Like, is there going to be something that is a big, a big potential win or milestone that we hit that just unlocks so much more stablecoin supply? Or, in a similar way that we saw DeFi infrastructure like Aave and Morpho and Compound and Uniswap and these names kind of now become much bigger as a result of these treasury companies, and these treasury companies start to bring in capital on chain, institutions is it just the same driving forces that are going to drive DeFi to, $1 trillion of total TVL? Is that same force going to be driving stable coins to trillions in supply? Or what do you guys believe the driving forces of that increase in total supply will be over the next year or two? And maybe Carl, you can start us off.
That's a 50-page doc that I could write on. So I'll try to give you the 30 seconds to 1 minute version.
Beautiful.
I think the obvious things are the emergence or the continued growth of consumer banking globally, where using stablecoin native banking. I think that's just an obvious one that's going to continue to grow. It's also going to help increase crypto mindshare more broadly. And, one of the things I found is once money goes onto the blockchain, it very rarely goes off. And so once the world's citizens start to put their money into Tether and into other stable coins and products, it's very unlikely to leave, right? So I think that's going to be a huge growth lever that's going to have compounding returns. And I think like banks in general can really increase by tens or hundreds of billions of dollars almost overnight some of these settlement flows if they actually start to adopt stablecoin rails. I think they're going to be slower than people think, even in this optimistic regulatory environment. But I think that is a major growth lever. The one that's probably the biggest dark horse that I feel like people don't talk about enough is private credit. We've seen a lot of teams and now even funds forming around private credit on chain. And if you're trying to raise capital, it could be anything from, any sort of debt instrument that you need. Going through the traditional process is extremely challenging. Even in the terms of like fund formation on the venture side, the amount of documents and process to like create a fund is extremely laborious, and you have to hire outside firms to help you manage that process. But being able to put these things transparently on chain is actually a radical growth lever, especially for mid and smaller sized companies that need access to debt but are locked out of the current financial system today. Almost every day of every single week now, I'm getting an opportunity to put private credit on chain or some technology platform that's streamlining this whole process. And to me, that is an incredibly exciting area that's actually going to help business and capitalism more broadly. And nobody's talking about private credit. So I've been spending a lot of time there. There's some really terrific builders in the space. Along that is like the whole vaulting process of things like Upshift and Midas and others, where they're basically allowing capital formation on chain for funds, for businesses to grow. So that's one that's going to grow very quickly.
I agree with Carl on all of those. One of the things I was thinking about on this topic was, we've talked about there's, whatever, $200 billion of stablecoin market cap today. I was recently reading about kind of like some of these very large brokerages just in the US, like kind of like the Charles Schwabs of the world, who alone hold, tens, if not hundreds of billions of dollars of cash on platform. And so one of the things is like, well, what would it take to get those types of customers to like flip everything to stablecoins? Because that is like overnight, just like eclipses the entire stablecoin market cap today. And there's obviously regulatory things. There's also kind of a mundane topic that most people don't know about, but it's like how accounting is done around what's considered cash and cash equivalents. Like what can these regulated companies or these public companies actually hold either on behalf of customers or on their own balance sheet? And getting stable coins to be treated as cash and cash equivalents, I think is a huge unlock to getting like massive amounts of inflows into stable coins. And so that's what I'm like. I think like obviously the global banking and all that stuff I think is gonna be really interesting. And it's like what I'm personally most interested in. But really when you're looking at like what are gonna be like the big number swings, it's going to be like some of these massive brokerages coming in and say like, hey, I'm turning all my cash on platform into stablecoins, right? And like, that's like one stroke, obviously it doesn't happen overnight, but theoretically a single platform could add $100 billion of crypto market cap if they decided to take that step. And so that's really exciting to me. And I think that's going to like get us to $1 trillion faster.
Some could say trillions. Carl, trillions. Plasma mainnet tomorrow, baby. We've been waiting for this for a while.
Let's go.
Let's go, guys. It's been a pleasure. Thank you for your time. It's over. It's past midnight now in Korea. It's officially Thursday, as you you'll see on the feed when it goes live. It says Thursday night. I think it's a good time to wrap and let Rob sleep. Bo, Carl, thank you for your time. It's been a great session.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for having us on, guys.
Thanks for coming, guys.
Yeah.
See you next time.
Boys. Sweet. Well, Rob, great episode of Stabled Up. Really was just well done. I mean, those guys had great takes on each of the specific moments. I think the biggest one for me that I want to take away, well, one of the biggest ones is I'm glad that Carl brought up private credit, because I thought that was really something that I've been watching on 𝘰𝘬𝘴 XYZ. I've been checking it out, and it's been happening. And then the other thing is that on the CFTC side of things, it is pretty compelling that we have the ability to merge these two and then get financial markets to settle in stablecoins. I think that concept of settlement is what will get traditional finance people most excited about stablecoins. Yes, they are quick to send. Yes, it's free, but like, people trust wires. And I know Carl made a lot of points about how it's a pain in the ass. Trust me, we all know that it is a pain in the ass. But I think that like instant settlement, as soon as Ethereum settles its blocks and you can verifiably, provably know that transaction has settled. Now, it is kind of the same thing as like the speed of the wire transfer, but it's that instant settlement feature that I think will allow a lot more flexibility in traditional markets. So that's cool.
Yeah.
And then Tether, the last thing is just 500 bill. I mean, what a behemoth number. So, yeah.
Yeah, it is. It's past midnight in Korea. I think I was starting to ask these guys questions that they didn't really have answers to, and that's probably a result of my question asking. If they were still on stage, I'd probably, well, thinking back to kind of what you mentioned is that you actually mentioned Arthur Hayes.
Yeah.
And his 126x price prediction for Hyperliquid, and then he subsequently dumped. But the reason he has this 126x price prediction is a result of his expectation that there's 3 trillion coming in stablecoins.
Yeah.
And he kind of does this math.
Oh, he does some math, all right.
He certainly does do some math. We all love the math. And he walks through like, okay, if we equate the revenue generated by Hyperliquid as a function of the stablecoins issued in circulation in general on chain, then we can back into a price for the asset. Whether that's accurate or not, we'll see.
It is yet to be known. 2028 is a long way to go.
It certainly does.
Yeah.
And it's not going to get there unless either one of two things happens. Either Arthur stops dumping or John Charb's proposal goes through. So if I see Jeff around Seoul,
yeah, let him know.
I'm going to let him know.
All right, guys. That's it for Stabled Up episode 2. I think that also about wraps up the stream today. Guys, it's been a great stream. Thank you for tuning in, and we will see you guys on the flip side. Peace out. Much love. See you tomorrow.